So we are doing a random episode today while I homeschool. Zaina's out here. And she's working on her multiplication problems quietly while mommy does a random episode, but like a piggyback on South Node in Sagittarius. Y'all have to forgive my face. I'm having a breakout time for my lady time. So anyway, happy June 9th. 10 days it'll be Juneteenth Day.
June what?
Juneteenth Day. We'll have to talk about that later. South Node energies and lessons we are receiving by it being in Sagittarius. Again, what is the South Node? It is your karma. It's the karma you keep. It's what we have learned and what we have released for new energies coming into now. So if you know how I operate these episodes, I do your birth chart compared to now, or just the forecast currently of what is happening above, so is below, and comparing it to us here on Earth. Because astrology is science, it is very real, and it is energetic. And part of the reason why we are the energies we are right now. So, with that said, Sagittarius is the belief system and what you believe in the bigger picture. More understandings of new energies coming in right now and dealing with those energies, dealing with law, education, legal matters, philosophy, religion, anything shaping the view of your world or the world. Our opinions based on our knowledge. So basically things that we are taking in right now, the energies and the downloads, like I told you about, downloads are the energies that are receiving from above, so below. The energies we're taking in right now from Sagittarius being in the South Node is helping you shape your new beliefs based on the full moon that we had recently. Sorry, as I said, I'm multitasking. Now, also during this, you will be healing. You will be challenged on what clarity and things you need to define within yourself and how to transform higher. Because South Node is your lower consciousness, and the North Node being in Gemini is your higher consciousness. So you are traveling through your South Node. If it's not on your birth chart in Sagittarius, whatever it is what you are traveling through now, entering the North Node because of the change. Now, of course, most people don't master this until they're about their 40s, about their mid-haven, about their middle passage in life. But some do it earlier, or some do it repeatedly, which is what we should be doing anyway. We should be relearning things, which has to do with the nodes and the retrogrades and the eclipses. A lot of new energies. So I am balancing and understanding that I am working with sound and multitasking with motherhood and homeschooling. So anyway, that is my challenge. That is my lessons. And my South Node in Aries, demanding balance, but also the balance side, the Libra, because my North Node is in Libra. Understanding that I need balance, and the way to get it is not maybe the way I've been approaching it lately for myself. But I'm gonna come into that later. So back to the challenge and what you need to do with the Sagittarius South Node. You're moving away from your old views. You're traveling to new levels in your own mind, and you might not travel physically, but in your own mind, you're definitely going through stages and levels. and it would help with the new you coming in, with the new energy coming in as well. So I touched on this last time when I talked about the nodes, the history of time of the last time the nodes were in Gem and Sag, with Sag was in the North Node, was in 2011 to 2012. Right now it's going to be in Gemini North Node and Sagittarius South Node from 2020, started in May, to January 2022. So, again, going beyond the norm back then, think back then to your own personal life. The last time these nodes were in position, but in opposition, they were Sag at the North Node back then in 2011, 2012. With me, I had my new youngest that's sitting out here with me now in 2012, made her in 2011, was going through a lot of custody battles with my other two kids. Was in between different places living, traveling to different places as well. And that was the first time I went to Vegas between that time too, and that was the first time I technically went to the West Coast in a long time. So, and now you're looking to see where you have grown for the last 9 years. So wherever Sag is in your chart also, from 29 degrees and the nodes move backwards, so to 0 degrees Sagittarius, you are trying to figure out what purpose you are serving. So here again, in my chart, I have Sagittarius and Mercury, plane of communication, the one that's getting ready to go retrograde in 2 weeks, and we're in the shadow period now. It could be an extreme change. It could be an extreme purpose you need to work on. It could be a whole new makeover type of situation. So looking at your Sagittarius in your chart, where you look at yourself and ask, is this still how I want to be? So I feel like the way I communicate is definitely not where I want to be. I definitely want to learn how to. Sagittarius also has to deal with technology and higher levels of thinking and ways to message and reach out to each other. So definitely my communication and technology skills, and communicating with those who I kind of make it tough to communicate with myself. I'm working on that. And things that are Mercury related, same thing. So I'm releasing at the same time relationships that have not been, or I've attempted to work with my communication with, and it's not being reciprocated on the opposite end. And I'm outgrowing those things, or they're unfitting. Those relationships are unfitting now. And I'm moving into fixing others that I haven't taken the opportunity or the extra communication push to be, in. Like, for example, my parents. So I'm really working on that part of Sagittarius in my chart in Mercury. I forgot my own degrees. I believe it's like right in the middle, like 14, 15. So those things are kind of overdue. And then with Saturn in my 10th house, and I'm going to speak on houses starting with the 12th tomorrow, actually, the 12th and the 11th. And then the 10th will I'll probably do the 10th on Thursday or Saturday. We'll see. But I'm going to start talking about the houses because my Saturn being in retrograde right now, and Saturn being in Aquarius and then coming back to Capricorn, because there's more lessons to learn and more authority is trying to hold you and hold you down from making these important changes. And my Saturn is in the 10th house, and quickly the 10th house has a lot to do with reputation, career, working jobs for other people, having someone of authority over top of you, maybe bringing you down for what you think you're doing your best on. And that is kind of also a placement for having a tough upbringing. So I can definitely say that that is fitting for my life, and that is why I do birth charts, to see what is fitting for your life and how it moves you on to the current life we live. Also, how everything that's on in Sagittarius in your chart will also connect to Jupiter, and Jupiter is the ruler of Sagittarius. So going higher with the knowledge of whatever, and to make it grow into better from now to 2022. And it will get better. Like I said before, sometimes you feel like you're losing, but you're actually gaining. So Sag is also a mutable sign, which is a freedom type of, wanting your own choice, wanting your own independence, wanting your own space kind of sign. And if you don't kind of move with this kind of energy, you'll find yourself hard to grow into this new era. So this is kind of like unbreaking your chains on certain authorities. And the lessons we learned and that we have clinged on to for so long, are they holding us back? You're looking at everything that possibly has held you back, like isms. Let me talk louder because I'm going to push through this noise. Dividing. I'm on my arm. Distractions, equality, and debating. Those kind of lessons in your life, what are you learning from them, and how would you move on from them? Then from this, you might feel alienated because you're moving on from those same old beliefs and moving into a new, and you might get outed, or you might do the outing. Sagittarius is also a fire sign. So fire signs are adventurous. They're health-oriented, open to movement and adventure and experiences and the new kind of stuff. And Sagittarius is asked us to go higher. So in the South Node, it'll take you lower first. And then because the North Node is its opposition, and there also is balance between those two polarities, you'll go lower before you elevate higher. And you have to figure out within yourself how you're going to get there. That's the whole lesson. That's the whole key. So, in tying all this in, when the Pluto, Saturn, and Jupiter has its transits and conjunctions in Sagittarius, because now they are in Capricorn, all three, they had a higher level of impact on your life with those planet aspects, especially Jupiter being in Sagittarius, being the ruler of Sagittarius. So Sagittarius on your chart, again, is where you're going and where you're growing. Pluto makes changes and shifts. Jupiter Pluto makes changes and shifts. Saturn helps you choose wisely, and Jupiter makes it all grow. So when these planets were last in Sagittarius, with Pluto, because it's a slow-moving planet, that was 1995, all the way back in 1995 to 2009. So now Pluto is in Capricorn, moving slow for the next 18 years, I believe, from 2009. Saturn, the last time it was in Sagittarius was 2014 to 2017, and Jupiter was just recently in November 2018 to 2019, because Jupiter is currently in Capricorn and will be moving into Aquarius, bringing us all that innovative abundance coming up in 2021. That's why I say in January, or right the end of this year, actually, going into 2021, it'll be an abundant time for innovation, for getting those personal businesses off the ground. And just picture myself real quick, not only am I doing this as a business, but my daughter is writing books, we're creating dolls, we're going to be creating a lot more businesses, and leaving those authoritative old narratives, old JOB type of mentalities and mindsets, and moving to our own. So my interpretation of all this is blacks will start new levels of life, because I'm speaking on us. This is a black-owned business of me doing birth charts and getting you to understand your life path and where you come from. That is what interpretation of birth charts is about. So my interpretation of all this that I'm speaking on, the South Node in the South Node in Sagittarius and the North Node in Gemini, affecting us all, especially with Sagittarius and Gemini in our charts. Blacks, or African Americans, we will start our new level of life. We will release all the beefs. And one of the things, really quick, when I say release all the beefs, one of the classes that I'm pitching to have in my homeschool to black families of black children are going to be an Ebonics class instead of an English class. Us learning our own languages, us learning our own dialect from different demographics in the region and in the world based on our language. Like, beefs is generally a Ebonic word that we all know, which means, arguments or fights, fusses, competitions, debates, the stuff I said that we're releasing and working on. There are other words like DC slang, like, young, or, in different areas where blacks live, that there's different Ebonics that we use, and that would be our language arts lessons, if that makes sense. Okay? But basically building each other up. We will clear house on what has held us back, to include religions, education that we're not learning about ourselves, nothing we're learning about others, anything European, basically, to keep it real. And that will be the North Node in Gemini energy, which is accelerating you higher from your lower consciousness, from your lower vibrations. So we will change it all by reclaiming and rebuilding. It is retrograde season. It is time to rethink everything. That is why it is about to be 6 planets in retrograde until Venus ends right after the sixth one begins. And then it'll still be 5 planets in retrograde. Planets again are Pluto, which has been in retrograde since April, and I forget the ending dates, but most of the ending dates are like in November, December for everything except Venus. Then it was after Pluto was Jupiter, Saturn, and Venus all in the same week. Then in 2 weeks, like I said, is Mercury retrograde, and then right after Mercury retrograde, 2 days later, I believe it's like it's about, or a week later, it's about Neptune in retrograde, and then in August it'll be Mars retrograde. So almost every planet has a retrograde. And then when you look on your own birth chart, you see what retrogrades you were born under. So you were learning, or we as a collective were learning those lessons when you were born. And if it is the same planets that I'm sure most of us have in retrograde back then, it'll affect you at a new level now. Got it? That is how I compare your birth chart to your current chart now as a living being, as a living energy on this earth. So, moving into self-evaluation with all this. What feels right in researching? What feels right in you research yourself? You see how you can build this higher knowledge in order to move from the South Node in Sagittarius in the lower vibration to the Gemini higher communicating, higher order thinking North Node, and releasing prior knowledge and beliefs and moving into higher knowledge and beliefs. And basically moving mountains and tearing down walls and breaking chains and leaving some masculine energy that is felt to be, necessary when you're supposed to blend feminine and masculine energies together. That is what Gemini is about. Not only about twins and not only about, evil and good. Just your body and mind building. So the North Node going forth from starting at your South Node self, moving into your North Node self in the next year and a half. After you master all this South Node stuff, this could activate while mastering some anxiety, some depression, some retrieving, is that the right word? Going backwards, low vibrating, ostracizing yourself, needing to be in survival mode all the time. But now this will be better because you are having these more positive, higher elevating, higher thinking energies with the North Node being in Gemini. So even if you get those feelings, you will still, be successful nonetheless. Again, the last time, going back to that time that these nodes were in place, but they were on opposition. That was back in 2011 and 2012 again. That was a pivotal time, but a lower conscious level. So again, like I was having my third child, but for example, I was not having the best communication, because that's where, again, Sagittarius is in my chart, and Mercury, the plane of communication. I was not communicating best with my older children by having my last child in that time period. And now I'm seeing that I have been working on my communication with my kids, and I'm still working on it at higher levels now. Instead of needing school for my youngest, we're working on homeschool. Instead of school being over, we're doing school every day, just little bits at a time, keeping her mind flowing. There's no breaks in life, so you can, take vacations and breaks in a day, but you keep pushing through every day to get to that higher level of consciousness and higher vibration. You may have been a part of a group and you left the group back then, and now in 2020 to 2022, you are bringing back the group, what you have learned, back to that group. But at the same time, you're proving to yourself that you don't still need the group, You're going to be fine, basically. South Node of Sagittarius, it brings faith and hope, and it's how you embrace all the change that is moving into the new era of the South Node being in Gemini. And me particularly, I always say I love life lessons. Pluto being the ruler of Scorpio, and me being Scorpio's sun sign, transformation and change is my favorite thing to do. However, with the North Node pulling, like the polar energy from the North Node and the South Node, pulling you back into Sagittarius mode, and you're being shown so much at one time, and Sagittarius being at a higher level, even though if you want to cling to the old, it'll still push you on, even though it's in the South Node in lower consciousness, if this all makes sense, because you're the new pivotal time in this same energy space with the Gemini and Sagittarius polarity on the south and north nodes. So hopefully this interests you and you're feeling the vibe, and you'll be back for more. It is Tuesday, so tomorrow is the midweek check-in for everything else going on in the middle of the second week of June. My Libra sun is graduating this week on Friday, so that is why I probably will be doing talking about the houses starting on Thursday, when the moon goes into the 12th house, which is really significant. I've been already studying on that, and I can't wait to tell you about that It'll be coming, it's in the 11th house right now. So I won't touch on the 11th house that much because by then on Thursday it'll be in the 12th house. So y'all look forward to that. Thank you for checking in, liking, subscribing, and commenting. I am TMZ, teaching everyone abundantly, empowering many. Zakia, enlightening every day. All right, that noise is telling me to hush, so I'm going to hush y'all. See y'all soon.